Hey everyone, welcome to Violin Veil, where we talk about folk horror films and listen to music. My name is Lee Corby Wells. I'm born and raised in San Francisco, and I've been playing traditional Scottish and Irish fiddle music my entire life. In each of my videos, I'm going to be talking about a different folk horror movie from around the world, and I'll be playing music from the regions where these films take place, or their soundtracks, if I like them. So if that sounds good to you, please like this video and subscribe for more. Folk horror is a subgenre of horror that thrives on the uncanny, on the juxtaposition of the everyday and the ancient, things that are forgotten, or things that are repressed that are now coming back to haunt us. But what really defines a folk horror movie, and how do these films reflect on the time that they are set in and the time in which they're made? So let's break that down. At the heart of folk horror is a connection to place. It's in rural or isolated settings where old traditions, ancient beliefs, and forgotten rituals persist, often clashing with the modern world. The landscape itself is a character. It's beautiful, but imbued with a lurking sense of danger. Something is out there, something old, and it does not want to be fucked with. One of the key criteria for folk horror is a sense of isolation. Often the protagonist is an outsider who comes to a rural community and bit by bit finds out that it's not quite what it seems. So for example, in The Wicker Man, Sergeant Howie arrives on a remote island and he slowly realizes that its quaint traditions are actually masking something much darker. These films are often about the clashing of belief systems. You've got the rational modern worldview up against the, old pagan or mystical practices that refuse to die. But they're not always about that. I mean, for example, in Witchfinder General, Matthew Hopkins, who was a real figure in history, exploited his power as a witchfinder in order to enact violence on innocent people. What makes folk horror so effective is that it taps into the anxieties of its audience, both in the world of the film and in the world in which the film is created. Folk horror is always about the past coming back to haunt the present. But the fears it draws upon are distinctly contemporary. In the end, folk horror reminds us that the past is never really gone. It lingers just out of sight, waiting to rise again. Because this is my first full-length video on the matter, I thought it only fitting to talk about the unholy trinity of folk horror. And the unholy trinity of folk horror are a trio of films that they were not the first folk horror films ever made, but they, because of the media coverage they got at the time, sort of solidified the genre as its niche, as its own thing. And so for that, they became very important, at least in the British folk horror genre. These films are Witchfinder General, 1968, The Blood on Satan's Claw, 1971, and The Wicker Man, 1973. I originally was going to include 3 complete segments to this video, one for each film in the Unholy Trinity, but it was proving to be kind of a big undertaking, at least for now, so I've decided to dive into this subject a little more in depth in the next video. So I hope to see you there. Also, heads up, of course I talk about The Wicker Man in this video, but I will not be including it in my next video when I talk about the Unholy Trinity of folk horror more in depth, and that is because there is far too much to talk about for one segment, and I believe it deserves its own video. More on this later. So to wrap this up, what are the traditional characteristics that a good folk horror movie should have? It takes place in a rural area in broad daylight where naive outsiders view the locals and their skewed morals, and there are violent happenings, whether they be supernatural or not. If you made it till the end of this video, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what your favorite folk horror film is, or music that relates to the genre. I'd like to know that. I'd also like to know your suggestions. I mean, I have plans, but I still would like suggestions. You can leave them in the comments about other folk horror movies that you want me to talk about. So, until next time, beware of the woods and whispers in the dark. This has become my new favorite fiddle. It's the Fortevio 6-string electric violin. I love this thing. It's light, it's pretty, it sounds really good through my head rush. I think I will play you, I have that loop that I made that I used for my title page that you saw earlier. So I'll just play variations of that. So I hope you enjoy.